President Trump calling out Iran and calling on other nations to step up. To NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg, who's having lunch with President Trump next hour. Mr. Secretary, thank you for being here. Appreciate it. What will you discuss with the president? And I assume that even though Iran is slightly a far distance from what NATO usually deals with, that will be on the agenda.
Many issues are important when we discuss NATO and the United States. The most important message is that a strong NATO is good for Europe, but it's also good for the United States. The United States is a stronger nation because through NATO, the United States has many friends and allies. Iran is also an issue. All allies are concerned about Iran's support to different terrorist organizations, their destabilizing policies in the whole region, and also, of course, their missile program. And all allies agree that Iran should never be allowed to develop nuclear weapons.
Is there a role for NATO if, in fact, the situation between Iran and Saudi Arabia gets even hotter?
NATO is present in the region with a training mission in Iraq, but we don't, and some NATO allies are present in the Strait of Hormuz and in the Gulf. But there has been no call for a NATO mission through the NATO alliance in the Strait of Hormuz.
Right.
And therefore I will not speculate about that, because I think that will only add to the uncertainty, and what we now need is to try to de-escalate and to not speculate about a potential NATO role.
Now, as you well know, Mr. Secretary General, the United States and Europe had very different views of how to deal with Iran. The Europeans wanted the United States to stay in the agreement that was made by the Obama administration, not ratified by the U.S. Congress. Does that interfere with any help the United States may try to get from the Europeans, specifically putting together a coalition?
Well, it's a well-known fact that in NATO there are sometimes differences, for instance, on the Iran nuclear deal. Having said that, I think that the strength of NATO is that we have been able to overcome differences and always unite around our core task to protect and defend each other. Again, when it comes to Iran, there has been no call for a NATO presence, but some NATO allies are in the region. And we, for instance, use NATO as a platform to discuss, to analyze the situation in Iran. So at the last foreign ministerial meeting, at the last defense ministerial meeting in NATO, we, of course, discussed the increased tensions in the region. And I have, and NATO has, strongly condemned the drone attacks and the cruise missile attacks on the Saudi Arabian oil facilities.
What do you consider to be the greatest threat to NATO at this moment?
I think the greatest challenge we see is the unpredictability, uncertainty. For many years, NATO had one challenge, and that was the Soviet Union. But now the Soviet Union doesn't exist anymore, but what we have is a much more complex, much more unpredictable security environment. My main message there is that when we see more uncertainty, then we need strong international institutions as NATO, based on the core idea, one for all and all for one. And that has kept all NATO allies safe and secure for 70 years. No NATO ally has been attacked by another nation because any potential adversary know that if they attack one NATO ally, the whole alliance will respond. And that's the best way to keep us safe.
And of course, that's why so many East European nations, which were under the Soviet control, wanted to get into NATO. Of course, one of those nations is Ukraine. It's been in the news. I won't ask for your opinion on the political situation, but they've been trying to become a part of NATO for a while. Will Ukraine become a part of NATO?
So what NATO has said is that we will support Ukraine's reforms moving towards membership, but we don't have a date. What we do is that we provide strong political support to Ukraine, strong practical support to Ukraine, and we have just recently actually decided to step up the support for Ukraine, because Ukraine is a close partner. And when our neighbors are more stable, we are more secure. and then I think it's a bit too early to say when they will become a member.
Well, Mr. Secretary General, I know you've got a lot of appointments today. Thank you so much for your time. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg, we appreciate you coming in, sir.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you.